With that, when it comes to our heat alerts, you can see we have a heat advisory that includes the metro region, this pink color here. That is for your Sunday. And then we also have an extreme heat warning across northern Minnesota. We're looking at heat indices getting up to around 100 degrees. Now, if you remember our last heat wave, basically last week, end of last month, couple comparisons here. That stretch compared to this one. When it comes to the heat, we're going to have a longer stretch this time. More hot days. The air temps are forecast to be even hotter. Last time we had low 90s. We might get close to the mid 90s for your air temps. And then also looking at the warmer air in place even further north across cabin country, northern Minnesota this time. I will mention the humidity levels look to be a little bit lower, so that might help. Also help when it comes to not feeling as warm with the overnight lows. As of now, we only have the advisory in place across the metro, not necessarily the warning because of the humidity levels that are anticipated. But of course, the compounding heat throughout the week is something we'll keep a close eye on. We'll look
90 today, which is pretty hot, but summer-like. But now we've got some possible next weather alert days coming.
Yep, Monday, Tuesday, we're getting into maybe the mid 90s as early as tomorrow. Have the heat in place. That's going to have to start coming up here tomorrow because feels like temps tomorrow will be approaching 100. Not only are we looking at some heat, we're looking at a rain-free stretch of days here. So we're going to be fortunately probably using a fair amount of the water thrown in there too. Hottest days are forecast for Monday and Tuesday. Those are possible next weather alert days. But even tomorrow we start to feel the heat. And this is a prolonged heat streak that we're going to continue to track here throughout the week. Right now it's pretty warm. It's 10-17, but it's 84 degrees here in the Twin Cities. Temps in the 70s outside of the metro. And then we have our dew points here around 70. We even have some dew points in the mid-low 70s. So we're starting to feel a stick. And when you put the two together, you get a feels like temp of 88. So right now we're close to 90 even here in the metro area. When it comes to our temps overnight, we drop them down to 73 here in the Twin Cities. Normally we're at 66. Temps in the 60s across the region. So another warm night despite it being clear overnight with those skies. And then tomorrow we're back to sunshine with highs about 10 above average. Forecast high tomorrow coming in at 94. Highs in the 90s though, get this, all the way to the north. 93, your high in Brainerd tomorrow. 94 in Bemidji. Around the 90s as we look out to western Wisconsin. Now, if you remember our last heat wave, we had dew points like Monday. This number was off the chart. Our last heat wave I'm talking about in the mid 70s with our dew points. It was very muggy. It's still humid. Our dew points are in the very humid category, just not quite as high. So you might notice it tries to help at least a little. But when it comes to that feels like temp tomorrow, we're in the sweltering category, close to 100. Going into Monday, pretty much looking at the same deal with feels like temps in the upper 90s for the beginning of the work week going into the middle of the week. So possible next weather alert Monday, Tuesday. Basically, I've been talking with the weather team, Adam. We'll probably end up either changing this over to the next weather alert. The difference is we don't have the warning in place for the metro versus the advisory that is currently that we'll be watching going into place. So we'll watch that for Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Also Wednesday, this group of days, highs in the mid 90s, feels like temps upper 90s, warm lows here in the 70s. Thursday, Friday, I was like, are the dogs going to be like, what is going on? No, they're like, yeah, it's cooler down here. We're not stupid. Yeah, a couple of people might be taking those precautions again because this heat wave is going to be a little bit longer this time. Air temps also could be up. So whatever you got to do to prepare for it, I would do so. Tomorrow's the start of it. So we're getting pretty close. Today we hit 90, average is 84. Morning low 71, 66 is that average. So already today we were above average with our temps now very warm. See, that's the other thing. These nighttime lows, when they're warm in the 70s, you don't get a reprieve from the heat overnight. It's 10:38 and our current temp in the Twin Cities is 84. So If you're heading out to the Twins game tomorrow, sunglasses, sunscreen, and plenty of water because it's going to be a hot one. Pregame 88, feels like 93. First pitch 90 by the afternoon, 93 by the end of the game with feels like temp close to 100. Hence a heat advisory that will be going in place as those feels like temps approach 100. That's for the metro. Further to the north, we have that extreme heat warning that will be going into place across the northern part of the state. We'll take a look at how much hotter these.
This is Lisa Meadows. I'm Derek James. Just spent a couple days down in Miami, and temperatures were in the 90s, but it felt like around 105 to 110.
Ooh.
But then they were also dealing with Saharan dust that was blowing in.
I heard about that. Okay.
And so you didn't really want to be outside very long at all.
Wow. Okay. We don't have to deal with that. Humidity, not that bad.
Okay.
So we'll take that. But it's still
still going to be
for
hot.
us.
Yeah.
This is going to be tough the next couple of days. We're in the thick of the summer feels here, really starting tomorrow throughout the work week. Coming up next week and kind of heading into the weekend. It's warm now, 83 in the metro with temps in the 70s outside of the metro, and then our dew points are close to 70. We're in the 60s, the 70s there, and that does make an impact with your feels like temp, bumping it into the 80s or even the 70s across the region. Here's your overnight low. So we only take you down to 73 here in the Twin Cities tonight, 67 as we look out to Rice Lake. And then tomorrow, forecast highs in the mid, maybe even upper 90s for some locations. You might have heard about this. We even had it in our show. It's called a heat dome. So basically jet stream well up to the north. That allows the heat to build across the center part of the country, but it even builds all the way into the upper part of the state of Minnesota. And you can really tell that here with the forecast highs bumping it up. We have the sunshine, and then we have these dew points in the very humid category, 60s around 70, and that makes your feels like temp for tomorrow sweltering. Close to 100 tomorrow. Monday, much of the same. So that's why your next 7-day forecast, we have possible next weather alerts Monday, Tuesday. Truthfully, you could probably tack on Sunday. I would say moral of the story here is heat safety precautions really throughout this week. Next 4 days or so, highs are in the mid 90s, lows in the 70s. And if we achieve these air temps in the mid 90s, then that'll make the air temps hotter than that. That's a whole nother thing too. Yeah, they would actually like the precipitation up there. That's not necessarily helping. It'd be maybe helpful to get some of the humidity up to the north a little bit more. But again, the humidity is not as high here with this wave versus the last.
All right, we'll keep an eye on it. Thank you, Lisa. The Vikings